Want to bet? Then get in on the action at Sports Interaction. Whatever your sport, Sports Interaction has you covered. Bet pregame, in-game, or on one of our many unique prop bets. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN, or in Ontario, download the app now by using the QR code at the bottom of the screen. 19 and over, please play responsibly. We've mentioned Timo Meier here and there on today's episode. Here's a question from Real Chris Cote on Timo Meier. If the Carolina Hurricanes miss on Timo Meier, who else is on their radar?
On the radar for Meier, you think?
I think they meant for the Hurricanes, but if you want to look at it the other way and see who else might be on Meier, why not? Let's go into both sides.
Well, New Jersey, it's no secret, is quite interested in Timo Meier. So I think that they're an option. I do think the Leafs are around Meier at least. Not to say that they're the front runner by any stretch, but I think that they've considered it. I mean, look, any team with any ambition has at least considered it. And the one thing with Carolina is I don't know that they make the Meier trade unless they know they can get him signed as part of it to a longer term extension. And, Timo Meier may or may not be willing to do that. As of this weekend, his agent Claude Lemieux still hasn't had the green light to talk to other teams about what that might look like. So, that's not really in the works at this point. And Carolina just isn't, Carolina's a smart front office. Like, just full stop. I think that they're playing like 3D chess compared to what most of the other teams in the league are. Not all. I mean, Tampa, Julian Brisebois' work speaks for itself. I think that Kyle Dubas has done a great job managing the Leafs roster. Like, there's lots of other good GMs or smart front offices, but the Hurricanes, they don't do the obvious thing, right? Like, they don't go and trade a whole bunch of draft capital for, the shiniest rental toy. And so, like, I think we have to keep our eyes on them doing something a little more off the radar. But they certainly need some scoring help. I think that they were going to be in that marketplace, even in a world where Max Pacioretty was healthy. Unfortunately, Pacioretty suffered his second torn Achilles. And so, now they need scoring to boost their chances. They're a very good team. So I don't know. Maybe they look at some of the other options, whether that, like, is James Van Riemsdyk a fit? I'm not sure with the way they play. But I think that they'll unearth something maybe a little less obvious than that if the Meier thing falls through. And at this point in time, we don't know that.
This next question, I think, is the hardest one you're going to have to answer. From Taylor Choma, what are your top 5 Super Bowl foods?
Pizza.
Oh, okay.
Chili. Meatballs.
Okay.
Chicken wings.
This is not as hard as I thought it was going to be. I spoke too soon.
I don't know. Chips and guac. Does that count?
Yeah, I think that counts. I thought you were gonna be mangling your brain, considering how you've gone through all these topics, and you're like, oh crap, I gotta think about Super Bowl food. That was pretty quick.
Well, it's the morning after Super Bowl, so I had to entertain which of those items I was going to have last night. I went for the chili.
Good call on the chili.
That was kind of like a family tradition when I was a kid. We would always have chili when the Grey Cup was on or the Super Bowl. My grandma would come over too. We'd actually like place small bets, like $1 or $2 bets on the game and stuff like that. So
that's nice. From Evelyn Halpert, probably no relation to Jim Halpert from The Office. Do you think the Rangers will make another move?
I do think they'll make another move. Another part of the Tarasenko piece, I was mentioning the cap implications of the other players they might have went for, is that they protected some flexibility to make, it will be, in my estimation, probably a smaller move, but I still think that they're well positioned to do something else to maybe help down the lineup a little bit. So, I mean, look, it's a pretty deep team, fully healthy. You line them up like left to right, go through the D, go to their goaltender. I mean, that's a team that could win a Stanley Cup, but I think that we'll see them make another smaller move closer to the deadline.
Next one from Mark. Is Matthew Knies good enough right away to make Michael Bunting expendable this summer?
Don't have the answer to that yet. What I can tell you is that there haven't really been significant talks at all between Michael Bunting and the Leafs on a contract extension. So that suggests that the organization is probably going to leave that decision until after what happens in the playoffs. And, after that time, they will probably see Matthew Knies play some NHL games, potentially even playoff games, and they might have a clearer view of the decision they're making. But I think the Leafs want to leave open as much flexibility as possible. And entering this summer, they have all kinds of cap space. I think that there's no mystery or there's no question that Michael Bunting would rather, all things being equal, he'd love to stay in Toronto. He's a local kid. He's had a lot of success with the team. I think he's well liked and has carved out a nice role with the Leafs. But they're not even exploring the contract talks yet. So I can't say if there's a fit or not, because they're not exchanging numbers. They're not seeing where the fit is. I think like a lot of things in Toronto, like it's going to be, whenever the last game of the season is in Toronto, man, it's going to be crazy for the next few weeks after that, because in pretty quick succession, there's got to be a decision made on Kyle Dubas's future, and then if there's a world where they're making a change at the general manager, then they have to go find the next general manager in pretty short order, I would think, because, by July 1st, they need to have a contract extension done with Austin Matthews. There need to be decisions on all kinds of UFAs, big and small, including Michael Bunting, but also, Pierre Engvall, Justin Hall, Alex Kerfoot. They have 8 or 10 unrestricted free agents, and then there's an extension potentially for William Nylander. There will be fireworks. It might be more dramatic in the offseason than even in the playoffs around the Leafs. Like that's the potential we're talking about. So it's tough to say what Matthew Knies is going to be. He's having another strong year in the NCAA, thought of as, probably one of the best prospects at the power forward position of any NHL team. But do we really know what he is until we see him in the NHL? I think that, if he's ready right away or not, I think only time will give us that answer.
I don't know how this Leaf season is going to end. All I know is that I'm looking forward to your traditional episode with the SDP where you break down everything that happens.
Yeah, me too. I guess there's ways it's not that crazy. I guess if they go and have a really successful playoffs, if they win the Stanley Cup, there's probably a lot of those questions will have already been answered. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like you're not moving on from your general manager, even if they get to like the third round. Like I think that we'll know that then. It's really more if they lose in the first round again. That's where it could get wild. And like the reality is they might play a great series as they did last year. I would contend against Tampa and still lose, right? But then we're looking at changes. I don't know which ones yet, but if the season ends in like April 28th or something instead of May or June, it could be really crazy for a couple weeks.